Hi, good morning to everyone, and good afternoon as well. And thanks for joining us in this webinar, in which we are going to talk about how to manage efficiently email marketing campaigns in an international context. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Jordi Puig, and I am the CEO and General Manager of Digital Response. We are a full-service email and marketing automation agency based in Barcelona, Spain. And today we are going to talk about, as I mentioned before, how to manage efficiently. So my aim at the end is to share with you some guidelines or tips that help you to manage more efficiently email marketing campaigns when sending them to an international when you're managing an international context, sending to many different countries. So, just before to jump to the content, can someone confirm me that the audio and the image, you're receiving them properly through the chat, please? Is everything okay? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So let's jump to the content. First, a little bit of context. This year has been very special due to the coronavirus crisis, and we have seen here. I brought here some insights from Europe, but we have seen all over the world how many buyers have begun buying online for the first time in their lives. So there has been a huge quantity of new online buyers there that they have begun buying online for the first time. This is an interesting point to have in mind. And as you can see in this slide, this is information in particular from European countries that say that 88% of European buyers are buying from national sellers. But what is interesting is to point that 31% of online buyers in Europe are buying from sellers from other European countries. And as you can see in the last bar, 40% of online buyers in Europe are buying from sellers from other countries, whether they are from the European Union or from abroad. So in this context, we see as online buyers are getting used to buying whatever is the seller, and it is a challenge for you as a marketers to adopt your marketing efforts to make them. You have to be close to where your buyer is. So it means that you have to adapt all your marketing content and your marketing communications to the local specificities of every market you are operating in, or in the markets you expect to operate in. I'm referring in particular, as you can see in this slide, to four main topics you have to be ready to manage properly, in particular in the email marketing campaigns. Currencies, pricing, very important, languages, if you want to be close to where your buyer is, and managing properly the legal aspects and conditions, because they may vary from country to country. So, said that, let's jump to the main content of this webinar. The first idea or or suggestion or tip I want to share with you is how important it is to work with a modular template. A modular template it's an HTML you have built in advance that in this HTML you have built all the structures and modules you expect to work with all along the year. Having this HTML built in advance will save you a lot of time when preparing your day-to-day campaigns. So instead of building an HTML from scratch, or instead of reusing an HTML you used in an old campaign, you already have these clean modules and structures already built in this master template. So it will help you to work to save time, and it will help you to avoid carrying errors from the old templates you may have had in the past. So this is the first suggestion, how important it is to work with this modular template. The second idea, and it is really important, has to do with managing all the texts in your communications as a text in your HTML instead as images. I'm going to illustrate it with an example. Let's imagine that you are sending campaigns to 30 different countries. You have, and you are processing all the texts as if they were an image file in your campaign. So you have all these 30 different HTMLs already prepared to be sent. Your campaign is the campaigns are scheduled in the email marketing platform, but it happens sometimes that, for instance, one competitor is having a more aggressive promotion, and you have to react to this movement of your competitor. Or suddenly some products became out of stock in some countries. But the campaign has been already prepared, it's scheduled, and you expect to send them in the next few hours. So your team will have very short time to react and to make all these changes in the HTML. What happens that is if the texts are based in image files, it will take a lot of time to make changes. We estimate that processing an image file can take up to 4 times longer than manage a text change directly on the HTML. So a lot of work, less time to send the campaign, more stress for your team, more possibilities to make some mistakes. So the idea is clear. Try to process all the text in text in your HTML, and as we will see later, the modern ESPs facilitates us the work, as we can upload just a table with all the text changed in the ESP, and dynamically the content can be filled in the HTML. So this is the main idea. Okay, a third point, in order to give agility when managing email marketing campaigns in many countries, has to do with exploiting the full potential of that offers your email service provider. I'm referring here in particular to the use of shared content of your marketing platform. So in every email marketing campaign, there are some parts of the HTML, I'm referring in particular to footers and headers, that they are not going to vary in any campaign, so they will be the same. So in this case, you can leave them fixed in the email marketing platform. So if you make any change in the footer, it will spread all over the emails you are sending. So in your HTML, when you are sending the campaign, in the part of the footer, you just write the sentence that pulls the content, the fixed content you have left in the email marketing in your platform, and brings it to your HTML. And when preparing an email marketing campaign, you won't have to spend time thinking about the footers and the headers, because they are already fixed in the email marketing platform, and they are spread all over the emails you are sending, even if they are a commercial email marketing campaign or they are transactional emails. So take advantage of this feature of your email marketing platform. But you have to pay attention, because in particular in promotional periods, sometimes happens that legal terms and conditions, they are specific for this promotional period. So there is a time when the promotion begins, a time when the promotion ends, a minimum amount of money the buyer has to spend if he wants to get benefit from the promotion, and so on and so on. So in these cases, don't make the mistake or be aware to write this kind of legal terms and conditions not as a fixed part in the footer, as we said before, but and treat them as a text in your main part of the body of the campaign, of the HTML. Well, I've shared with you some tips that you can use in order to avoid mistakes on work in an agile manner when managing the content of your campaigns. Now, we are going to see different ways of preparing campaigns in your email marketing platform. But before to jump to the content, just a reflection. Modern ESPs, the majority of them, of course, there are differences between them, and their approach to how they conceptualize and manage campaigns vary from one another, but there are a couple of things that they share, and a couple of things that are common to the majority of modern ESPs. One has to do with the way they treat the data in the platform. Modern ESPs, the majority, have at heart a relational data model, meaning that you can store in your platform different tables in which you can store different kind of information. You can store text, you can store images, you can store table with links, and so on. And all this information is related with this relational data model. And this is quite common to the majority of modern ESPs. The second common element has to do with the way the modern ESPs are managing dynamically the information you can fill in your HTML. So the majority of ESP have its own personalization languages. In some cases, it's called RPL, and so in some other cases, it's quite similar to SQL, or it's called AmpScript, and whatever. But at the end, they are personalization languages that using them, you can bring to the HTML dynamically different pieces of content and it helps you to build dynamically the content of your campaigns. So, of course, it's important the different features your ESP is offering to you, but what will make the difference is, from our point of view, is how smart and innovative you are when using all these features. So what it will make the difference is if you are able to think out of the box and take advantage of all these features and use them in an innovative way and in an intelligent way. So I wanted to point this idea. So let's go in. I'm going to share with you 3 different ways you can prepare campaigns in your email marketing platform. The first one, it's, let's say, the traditional one. We call it the one-to-one. In this case, it's very logic. In your database, you've got your database, for instance, is segmented with every different countries you are going to send campaigns. And in this case, you are going to prepare one campaign for every different country you have in your database. So you have to prepare one subject and one content HTML, and this campaign will be sent just to one country. This is a very logic and intuitive way of preparing campaigns. The problem arises when you get to the point that you have to deal with more than 5 different versions of the same campaign. What happens that the time spent preparing campaigns will increase exponentially as you are adding more and more countries. So if you spend 2 hours to prepare 3 versions of a campaign, you will have to spend 4 hours for 6 countries and 6 hours for 9 countries, and so on and so on. So this approach is useful if you are managing not more than 5 versions per campaign, but if you are starting adding more countries, it's not useful anymore. What to do when you have many countries to manage and you don't want to spend so many times preparing campaigns because you don't have as much time? So here is what we call the dynamic approach. And in this dynamic approach, there are 2 different ways to work with. In the first one is the one you are watching right now in this slide. You have to be able to build all the different HTMLs you are going to work with in your campaign outside the platform. So here you see an example. In some way, you have to be able to merge or mix a table with all the variables you are going to use for every country. In this particular case, as you can see, there are in each column you have different countries, and in the rows you have the variables for every country. You have the CTAs, the texts, the links for every different country, and then you mix it with an index HTML that contains a call to every one of these variables. And as a result of this mix, you will get all the different HTMLs, everyone for every country. Once you have all these HTMLs, you will upload them to your marketing platform. So in your marketing platform, you already have all the HTMLs for every country you previously upload there. And on the other hand, you have your database, and you can have a group of segments. You can have a group with all the different countries in this group. And what you are going to do is prepare one single campaign. Instead of sending one campaign for every country, you are going to send one single campaign. In this single campaign, instead of writing the subject line in every language or the content for every country, what you will have to do is write a query or an instruction using this personalization language I mentioned before when talking about the modern ESPs that will pull the specific content that fits every user depending on the segment he belongs to. So that way, dynamically, every user will receive the subject or the content that fits specifically its own language or country. But you will have prepared just one single campaign. The second way to use this called dynamic approach is different. In this second case, instead of preparing the HTMLs outside the platform and upload them to your ESPs, what you are going to do is to use your ESP as if it was an email builder. So you will store all the information, links, text, images, and so on, in the different tables in your ESP, and you will write this personalization, using these personalization languages, the sentences and instructions that said, well, when this message is sent to someone belonging to United Kingdom, to Great Britain, for instance, you are going to bring the image, this image and this content and this link and this text and so on. But the HTML will be built on the fly at the moment of the sending. Okay? So this is another approach. In this case, you use your ESPs, your email service provider, as an email builder. Well, when to use one of these two approaches? It depends. It depends it depends on the kind of campaigns you are preparing, and you have to find which of these both approaches it's better for you and save time, and it depends as well of the resources you can put on the table, of course. But these are the two interesting approaches. So, to give an image of the idea behind what I'm trying to explain to you is that, as you can see in this graph, in the horizontal axis, you have the number of versions per campaign, and in the vertical axis, you have the time spent, the hours on preparing the campaigns. As you can see in the red line, in the one-to-one approach, there is a threshold after what it doesn't make sense to keep working in a one-to-one way, because time increases exponentially every time you have to add a new country in your marketing program. But in the dynamic approach, the time spent will remain stable even you are starting more and more countries. Of course, in the dynamic approach, you have had to spend time thinking and preparing your technological environment in order to be able to work in the dynamic approach. But once done the effort, it's worth it, because you are going to save a lot of time. But then it arises in a question because it has to do with the reporting, because the ESPs usually are offering us a reporting related to every campaign we have sent. In the one-to-one approach, there is no problem, because we will have a reporting related to every campaign we have sent, and we can be every country how every country has performed. But in the dynamic approach, what happens? Because we have programmed just one single campaign, and we will have just the reporting for this single campaign. So in this case, you have to check with your email service provider if they allow you to segment or filter your report based on the variable country from your database. If this is the case, you can have a reporting separate by country, even it's a reporting for one campaign. But if this is not the case, there is an alternative that has to do with using dynamically adding the variable country at the end of the UTM campaign, for instance. It's just an example. Here you have some tracking labels. In this case, they are UTMs. The UTM source and medium and event campaign are the same for every mail you are sending to this campaign, but dynamically you can add the variable country the user is receiving. So you can have a look at the traffic you are receiving to your website, and you can separate visits and conversions separate by country. Well, what results can we expect if we are able to incorporate these different approaches or work with, or incorporate these guidelines or tips to our email marketing program? Of course, the main benefit has to do with the reduction of time spent in preparing campaigns. So when you are managing a lot of countries, using this dynamic approach will allow you to save a lot of time. If you save time, one important thing is that your team will be able to spend more time looking for new ways of segmenting your database, doing a better personalization, and even adding new campaigns or programs to your current email marketing program. And this will, at the end, it will be reflected in the numbers. So you will see as the weight of the email marketing channel in the global online sales increases in an important way. So in some cases we have seen the normal percentage of sales attributed to the email channel were about 5-6%. You can see as this sales increases to the 20-25%. And of course, if your team is working with less pressure and less stress, you will see as well a reduction in the errors that in this discipline. Sometimes we make errors as well, but if you reduce the stress, and if everything that can be automated is automated, and this is important, you can avoid the majority of the errors that they are manual errors. So this is what I wanted to share with you. This has been the guidelines or the tips I wanted to share with you. And now we can give some minutes to answer your questions. With me there is Gabriela Gil, who is our CRM expert here at Digital Response. So she will answer any question you have.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Gabby.
Okay, there is a first question. Can you please give some examples of how to use the shared content in the marketing platform?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your question. We usually use it as Georgie mentioned before, now for all the headers and footers and static content for that are common to other campaigns. But you can also go further and use it for some content that will be shared in different commercial campaigns, such as a cross-sell section or less product seen section. We also use it for all the loyalty program content, as you can have a header with the loyalty status, the current points that the user has. No, so all this content that you shouldn't change for each campaign, you can store it as a shared content, and the big issue is that if you need to make any changes, it will be applied to all your email campaigns, and it's very good for the day-to-day job, now the production.
Okay, thank you, Gabriela. Another question. Do you, let me see, I have to put my lens. Do you also automatize the text translation?
Yes, like we work with different agencies that give us a translation, and usually we have a shared doc where all the translations are updated, and we use this doc as the main content file, and this is what all the campaigns are fed from. So if there are any changes in the translation, they will automatically be applied. But for our clients, we don't use any tool for automatically translate the content, because they are really brands that are really concerned now about the quality of this translation. So usually we have the company that made the translation, and then there is also last minute changes for local people from the markets that doesn't like the translation as it was sent, because they are very particular clients, no? But there is also many tools for automatic translations that you could integrate with this process that we do.
Thank you, Gabriela. Another question. In the dynamic approach of sending campaigns, how do you deal with delivering a campaign at 10 a.m. in the local time for each country? Okay, okay, understood.
Yeah, great. There is a lot of ways of doing that. Usually we work with the one dynamic campaign for all countries. So we split the campaign, the hour to send the campaign in a journey builder now. So we create some buckets, some segments, like if you are from Spain, we send at 10 a.m. With our local time. If you are from another group of countries, that should be sent at 2 p.m. So you go to this part of the journey, you know. So we split all countries by hours, by group of hours, no time zones in the journal builder, and the campaign is sent in the current local time for the market. We also use another option, that is the STO, that many marketing automation tools has available, where you can send at the best hour for your user. So it's the machine that will choose the hour that it's more probable that your user will be opening this email. So we also use this technique, this way.
So there are no more questions. So thank you to everyone for having joined us to this webinar. You will receive a record of the webinar, and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.